You may have heard recently that the stock market in America, the Dow Jones Index, has hit a record high. You see, what's happening is the Federal Reserve is pumping $85 billion a month into the financial system to keep it afloat. Without this money, you would see the true state of the American economy. We're doing exactly the same over here with quantitative easing, which is currently up near the 400 billion mark. In America, 1 in 7 people are now unable to feed themselves and they're on food stamps. Over here in the UK, more and more food banks are popping up everywhere around the country as people find it harder and harder to feed themselves. You see, the system is broken. We're trapped in the belly of this horrible machine, and that machine is bleeding to death. We seem to be able to print as much money as we can to so-called stimulate the economy, but we never seem to be able to print money to actually pay off our debts. Now, this stimulus money, the $85 billion a month in America and the up to $400 billion over here in the UK, goes directly to the very same banks that caused the issue in the first place. It's worth mentioning again just how the system works. The banks, whose reckless gambling caused the credit crunch in 2008, resulted in those same banks getting bailout after bailout by national governments. The banks have never recovered from the credit crunch, and they won't, because they are all insolvent. They just haven't told us yet. Look at the Eurozone. This will never recover with what they're throwing at it, because the real issue is the up to 2 quadrillion in fraudulent derivatives that the banks have created. That's $2,000 trillion in derivatives. We can never and will never repay this money. Look at an analogy. What happens if you lose your job? You can't pay your mortgage. You struggle for months and months trying all you can to make that payment. You work where you can, get work doing whatever you can. You even borrow money off friends and family. You do all you can to keep the roof above your head. This is where the economies are at the moment. They are doing anything they can to stop their house being repossessed, including now stealing money from the general public in Cyprus. If you think that's a Cyprus-only thing, think again. But it's not going to happen. The global GDP is only 63 trillion and we owe 30 to 35 times this amount. Allegedly, we don't, the banks do. But what happens if countries that bailed out the banks, the same banks that are now calling in the debt, what if these countries cannot repay these banks? Well, the banks that caused the issue in the first place will basically repossess that country by way of buying up its assets dirt cheap. The banks will basically own that country. Do you really want to be owned by bankers because of an issue they caused in the first place? It's a genius plan if you think about it. Whilst people can't feed themselves, bankers are raping countries of their soul and their dignity, and seemingly nobody really gives a shit about it. Is this us now? Is this it? Oi, I'm talking to you. Is this it? Is this what we're going to settle for now? Submitting to bankers who will take the shirt off your back and roof over your head because of pieces of paper and numbers on a screen? For everyone's sake, when will we put our differences aside and unite to defeat this parasitic banking system?